Hello there, time now for a look at the day's business news. My name is Laban Cliff Onserio, and we start with the Kenya Airways. Of course, it's cleared to fly to America, and that has been cleared by the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, giving a forecast of April 2018 for the inaugural flight. Now, only 4 airports in Africa have attained Category 1 status, exemplifying the stringent protocols that need to be put in place to attain it. Alex Mwangi now reports.
A number of hurdles still remain in the quest to have a Kenyan airline take off at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and land on American soil.
They require what they call air service license, and then they also require air operating license. These are given by the Federal Aviation Administration of the U.S., and those applications are being processed.
American carrier Delta Airlines is expected to enter the fray to seek for revenue in the transatlantic route. During a media briefing, Macharia was quick to defend the pricing model of Kenya Airways.
We believe that what you bring down the fares in East Africa region is to make sure we have this what we call multilateral air service agreements.
The government has opted to convert its $225 million debt, or an equivalent of 23.3 billion shillings, into equity, pushing up its 29% stake in the listed firm, which is considered a national asset.
And the plan is, after so many years, they can recover their debt, which now will be in form of shares, by selling those shares on the stock exchange. But what I can confirm to you, that it will be below 50%. So even with that, it will not become a parastatal.
In recent years, the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport has undergone some massive changes, including the construction of Terminal 1A, a multi-layered parking garage, Terminal 1E, Terminal 2, which is further behind it, as well as the complete demolition of the former international arrivals and its conversion into a parking area. Going forward, there are major refurbishments that are expected to be done on Terminals 1, B, C, and D. The airport is also in the final stages of negotiating for the design and financing of a second runway.
So we're in the design phase right now. We are preparing the documents for the bank, and hopefully we will be able to tender sometime during September, October. That's the plan. And then we will be able to hopefully do groundbreaking 6 to 9 months after that one.
The amount which has been already put on the table is about $5 million to do the actual design of B, C, and D. That's already been spent because the design is being done. But also the same partner has committed to help us in terms of the actual implementation. But those figures are yet to be determined.
The African Development Bank is the partner involved in financing the revamping of Terminals 1B, C, and D. Once they are redesigned to become more modern and efficient, the capacity of JKIA is expected to expand from the current 7.5 million passengers per annum to at least 13 million passengers. Macharia spoke during a tour of Terminal 1A to assess the extent to which it complies with the regulations to handle passengers based on the requirements of airports fit for Cat 1 status. Alex Mwangi, Ntv.
11 banks will own a part of Kenya Airways in a deal fronted by Treasury, where the loans advanced to Kenya Airways will be converted to equity. That's a move meant to recover about 23 billion shillings they're demanding from the airline. Now, in a sensational paper tabled before Parliament by Majority Leader Eden Duale, banks will be allowed to convert the outstanding amounts to shares by coming together in a special purpose vehicle arrangement. The banks include Equity Bank, KCB Group, Commercial Bank of Africa and Cooperative Bank, Jamii Bora, I&M Bank, NIC Bank, Eco Bank, Chase Bank, National Bank and Diamond Trust Bank. This comes the day after Treasury announced it will convert its 25 million shilling debt into equity. Treasury, owns 29.8% of Kenya Airways, while KLM has a 26.7% stake in the airline. Parliament has requested to fast-track their approval before Parliament breaks for recess. That's on Thursday next week. And the capping of interest rates in Kenya has dampened the growth outlook of Kenya's private sector. That Stanbic Bank says that banks reporting a dwindled return has a ripple effect into how companies performed. That's in the month of May of 2017. Gibran Qureshi, the regional economist of Stanbic Bank, tells us more.
Stanbic Bank launched the PMI index, which is short for Purchasing Managers Index. So we look at purchasing activity on a monthly basis within the Kenyan private sector, and we survey about 400 companies, both in the formal and informal sector. So what we're seeing is that a number below 50 denotes a contraction, and a number above 50 is an expansion. So for the first 5 months of this year, we've seen the lowest average since data collection began, which actually indicates to us that there's some strain that the private sector is feeling. And
particularly on the financial sector, maybe?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest constraints that they are feeling is financial constraints. And I think the lack of access to credit is one of the biggest problems.
And of course, we'll take a look at that Kenya Airways story. That will be the main story on tomorrow's copy of the Business Daily, where we focus on the 11 banks that have been approved in order to convert the 23 billion shilling debt into equity in order to push Kenya Airways back to profitability. You can see that on your screens right now. And of course, looking at the members of the National Hospital and Insurance Fund, that's NHIF, where we'll start receiving ambulance evacuation services. That's in a deal signed by NHIF to a tune of 490 million shillings. And we'll also tell you by intention to buy BOC Kenya of the merger between a German-based Lindel Group and American-based Praxair to buy BOC Group pending approval. And last but not least, Limuru Tea has appointed Dr. Richard Cheriot Arap Korir as the chairman of its board, and the company took back its earlier notice where it had appointed Mr. Nicholas Yenkes as the chairman and CEO. Well, that's all we had for you on Ntv Business News tonight. My name is Laban Cliff Onseyo. Stay tuned. Mark and Gladys will be back with more news.